Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the CineMatch podcast. We're back after a week off. We were both dying, like really dying. We said the episode would be a little delayed, and then it just didn't happen at all, which is probably better because you obviously had COVID. By you, I'm speaking to my co-host, who I haven't introduced again. I'm getting really bad at that. I always forget.
You're
Um,
only like 5 seconds in, it's fine.
I know that's true.
What I
Right,
want you to start doing is welcome back to the CineMatch podcast. This is Nathan Sagalhana.
I'm going to have to, I think, because otherwise I'm just going to keep forgetting. As he said then, though, that is Mr. Nathan Sackle-Hanna, who had COVID last week. How are you now? Have you fully recovered?
I've got a sore throat and I'm still a bit tired, but other than that, I'm all right. It's more embarrassing to have COVID in 2024 than anything else, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And to actually let people know it's having an impact on you, because you ask half the population and it's nothing.
Yeah,
So it's
but
like, am I just a wimp then?
yeah. Well, I've had it before. I've had it once before, and this time was much, much worse.
Yeah, my mum said that because my mum's had it a couple of times, and
I'm
she
going to
just
say,
said,
well, your mum said that I had it worse than last time.
no, she just said you're a wimp.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
No, but she's had it twice, and she said the second time she got it was much worse than the first.
Yeah,
I never did
but
a test, so I don't know if I had it this week. Because obviously I saw you last week.
you can't put the on me.
Well, I can. I can. I can
Okay.
absorb all responsibility myself and pass it to someone, and that's what I'll do. Because I mean, I watched the Wallace and Gromit films, and then a couple of days later, I went to watch Gladiator 2, and we spoke for like 30 seconds. I don't know if that would have been enough time to pass it on.
But let's not forget what you told me the night before you was ill. Eleanor made you go walking in the snow. So I'm not saying it's Eleanor's fault, but
I've said that to her a few times. I blamed her. I have blamed her. Because I was already feeling ill at that point.
yeah,
That was just unwise on my behalf. Like we'd been out that day and I started to feel really ill and my throat was sore. And then it snowed, so it was like, let's go out in it at midnight. So that was
yeah,
kind of on me. But
that's definitely on you.
yeah, I don't know if I had COVID. I didn't take a test, but I will say it was like one of the worst illnesses I've had in a long time. Like I was so like I called in sick for work and I work from home. So to call in sick to my living room, it had to be bad, and it was. There was one of the days I couldn't even stay awake. Like I was sleeping like almost all day. It was bad, but we're both semi-recovered. I've still got a bit of a sniffle. You've still got a sore throat, but we're powering through. Originally, we were going to do the Return to Oz versus Oz the Great and Powerful ahead of Wicked, but since
Yeah,
then we
I'm
delayed
so
the episode. Wicked's come out. We're doing Wicked against the Wizard of Oz instead, and I think this is a much better option.
it is a much better option. I'm more annoyed at myself that we got ill and I had to watch those two films. But
Actually, I was thinking that.
I like Return to Oz. It's I'm more annoyed that I had to watch Oz the Great and Powerful. Can I just say just give me 5 seconds? I fucking hate that movie.
Yeah, it's not as good as I remembered it being. I
It's fucking
remember the first time I watched it. I think I actually liked it, but that was before like I actually like got into watching movies a lot. Like it was just I was like, oh, that's on. I'll just watch it. And I was like, that's fine. And now I watched it, and I don't think any of them were even good. But even performances, I thought sucked.
yeah.
Like
Um.
Mila,
Well,
like Mila Kunis, I think was actually terrible.
yeah. I watched. I think Oz is the one that I watched when I was the most ill. I think I said it to you already, but like I had a proper head pounding headache. It felt like somebody was crushing. Somebody like had the iron claw on me, and the fucking colours on that film genuinely hurt my eyes. I had to pause it and go upstairs and get my glasses to carry on watching it. Because fucking it, like I don't mind. I get it because Oz is supposed to be colourful. It's like they turn the saturation up to 100 on the TV. I hate it.
Yeah, and it all looks so computer generated, whereas the whole charm of the Wizard of Oz is how much practical like work goes into creating the sets and designing the world, which you get in the Wizard of Oz, you get in Wicked, you even get in Oz Return to Oz. So it was
Oh,
just like one off. Yeah,
it turns I mean, we watched it. We might as well spend a little bit of time talk about it. Return to
yeah.
Oz has got like a lot of like amazing like Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, like never story type
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah,
Like
Labyrinth was what I was gonna compare it to. It gave
a
me
lot
like
of,
it gave me a lot of Labyrinth vibes.
a lot of like Henson vibes, and I absolutely love that film. Like it's not as good as I remember it from being a kid, but like the bit when I bet nobody else who's, if anybody has listened to this, has ever seen it. Oh, Dan's seen it. Hey, Dan. We're just going to talk about Return to Oz. The bit where like they're losing at the end and they keep getting turned into statues, and the guy goes from claymation to part claymation to a guy in a suit with costume bits on it to just a full guy, and then slowly turns back to Clay. Oh, I love that bit.
Yeah, the practical effects was really good in that. I love the stuff with like the faces in the rocks moving. I'd never seen it before. Um, but I enjoyed it. I think that's why it's good that we're doing this one today because there was a very, very clear winner between Oz the Great and Powerful and Return to Oz. Like
Yeah,
I don't think Oz the Great and Powerful would have won any categories for me. I'm not sure. I'm not
yeah,
sure it would have done.
certainly not.
But we're
Unless we were
doing
having a category of shittest film.
yeah, yeah, that's true. But instead, our illnesses actually paid off because we got to wait until Wicked came out. We've now both seen it, and we're putting it
Oh,
up against the OG, The Wizard of Oz, and that's a testament to how much we enjoyed Wicked. We won't give too much away, but we both watched it for the first time this week, and it blew us both away. Like expectations, mine were quite low. Um, Funnily enough, the day before I watched it, so I watched it on Friday, and the day before, Eleanor pointed out on Facebook Memories that it was the 6 year anniversary of us going to watch Wicked in theatre, and that was the first time I'd ever been to see a musical. And it was
yeah.
almost 6 years to the day that we watched the movie on the big screen, which was
Yeah,
quite
that's
a coincidence, but I wasn't expecting good things.
well, I notoriously hate musicals.
Yeah, so that's what I said to Eleanor, because Eleanor asked if you were going to watch it, and I said he's not a musical guy.
I absolutely can't stand them. But then something kind of, I think if you was to ask me last Thursday, if I was bothered, I'd be like, no. But then something, I don't know what happened over the last 3 days, like
You
Friday,
said
Saturday,
my
Sunday.
review.
Yeah, that was it. But I was just like, I got so overly like shaken of excitement. I couldn't wait to watch it. Like we were just saying, we was in York doing the Christmas market, and I was like, is there any showings? Can we go and watch it tonight? Like try and find it tonight. And then eventually went to watch. I genuinely just couldn't wait. And then afterwards, I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, so
And
I imagine you've never seen the stage show.
no,
So you don't know like all the like the plot. You didn't know what to expect really.
no, I didn't know anything. I had a little bit of idea, and what I thought it was is definitely what it wasn't. So
Yeah. So there was a bit in the musical because obviously they split this into two
yeah,
parts, but the musical's just the one, and it was the first time I'd ever been to see a musical, and obviously there's a lot of ties to the Wizard of Oz because I mean obviously,
yeah.
um, and there's a bit in it where there's like some it's like a hint of what's to come. And it's like a
Mm.
hint of how it ties to the Wizard of Oz in some way. And I remember just like grabbing Ellen. When I clicked, I just like grabbed her because it's like quite subtle. It was just like a comment, but it like lit something in my head and I just grabbed Eleanor's hand. It's just that was the moment she realized I was like in and I was like fucking locked in. So I
Well,
love the musical.
weirdly, that's how exactly how I felt with the film because I didn't know who the characters. I only knew who one character was because somebody I worked with told me who the Tin Man turns out to be.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a shame.
But so that one I was like, oh, okay, cool. He becomes a Tin Man. But like, I mean, spoilers. Wicked's a pretty old play, and I'm guessing if you wanted to see Wicked by now, you would have gone to fucking see it. But
Yeah.
I, as you kind of see that character develop, where he's giving somebody his heart, but it doesn't really belong to him. Like, oh, because he doesn't have a heart. And there's a character who's just like very airheaded and like lives in the moment. You're like, well, he hasn't got a brain. And
Oh,
there's
so
a
you
very
know that as well?
no, I didn't. I think like that's what I was like watching it, and I was like, is that gonna be? Because I still didn't know after I was guessing, and then I went online because I genuinely couldn't wait a whole year to find out what I'm gonna forget by next year what it's about.
Probably.
And I was like, fuck, it was. But I'm quite happy that I got to like figure it out just from part one. So
Yeah.
obviously there's a lion that's quite scared and all
That's
that stuff.
that's the moment when there's a comment in the song
That gets
about
stuffed up.
being what?
But is it when she says like get stuffed or something
No,
like
so anyone who is not wanting spoilers for Wicked Part Two, turn off
that?
now.
Yeah.
But in Dancing Through Life, he says being brainless.
Mm.
It's one of the lyrics, and when he does that, that's when I grabbed Eleanor, and I was like, "Oh shit!" I didn't see that coming, and that's when she was like, "I knew you were locked in then." But up until then, I didn't realize, and that one line made me click. The others I didn't see coming. Obviously, the baby lion cub was obvious, being all timid, but I didn't see the Tin Man bit coming until it happened.
I still don't know how that happened specifically, the Tin Man bit.
Yeah,
And I've got a partial idea of how he becomes Scarecrow. Obviously, Lion just grows up to be Lion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was massively pleasantly surprised, and I will tell you exactly why when we get into it. But there's one person in particular that, oh,
Yeah. I actually, because like I said, it's 6 years ago I watched it, so I can't remember most of the minor plot points and how things shake out. So I'm really excited for Wicked Part 2 and all. I was saying to Eleanor, it's a sign of a good film because coming out of it, my only issue with the film was that I had to wait 12 months to see the second half of it. That was the only issue I had.
I saw somebody on X describe it as the theatre kids Infinity War, and I was like, yeah, I get that.
It is, yeah, it is. But yeah, we've talked about it a bit there. We haven't talked about Wizard of Oz much at all. But is that a film you'd watched a lot growing up?
Yeah, yeah, I'd seen it quite a fair bit growing up, and I mean, it's not one that I've ever like considered one of my favorite films of all time. But I don't like whenever it's on, I can watch it. Like
Yeah.
if it's just on telly, I can easily watch it. And I've literally, I mean, 10 minutes before we started recording is when I finished watching it for this episode today. And I'll just usually like with an older film that I've seen plenty of times, I can just be like on my phone and just have it kind of ready in the background and just it kind of clicking as I'm watching it. But this time, I phone down, just watching it all the way through. I forgot how much I think I've liked. This is probably the most I've liked it rewatching it for this as well because
Do you
like
think
I'm not
Wicked
watching.
played a part in that?
Huh?
Do you think Wicked played a part in you liking it more?
Yeah, I think probably. I think it also like helps that I watched Return to Oz and I watched Oz the Going Powerful lately and I've watched Wicked. And so I think it's all just kind of like become like this big amalgamation of excitement for that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I've not watched it as an adult. I think probably the last time I watched The Wizard of Oz was probably as a teenager, probably like for college or something, which, as we've talked about many times, was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah,
bet you were mind blown when they went to colour back then, were
yeah. Honestly, mate, it was a revolution.
you?
Um, and so yeah, really enjoyed it this time, and just like belly laughing as well. I think it takes a lot to have like an old film to influence you and like get those kind of reactions out of you if you've seen it 100 times as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely pissed myself at the line all the way through watching it.
I thought the line was fantastic. I mean, we'll touch on that soon, but his introduction, I was in bits watching that again. I think he's really funny. Let's get started then with the CineMatch showdown. We've got The Wizard of Oz versus Wicked. Um, First things first, we'll start with the stories. Obviously, they're quite well on paper. You think they're quite similar because it's kind of the same events. Well, part two of Wicked's more alongside The Wizard of Oz. Part one's more of a prequel. So obviously, The Wizard of Oz, is the musical from 1939. It's about a young girl called Dorothy from Kansas who, in a twister, gets taken or a tornado. I don't know the difference between the two. In one of them,
Oh,
tornado.
yeah, I don't know the difference, but they call it a tornado in the film.
In a tornado, she gets whisked to the land of Oz in her house, um, and then it's this big, colorful world where she meets these wacky characters, an evil, wicked witch, and she has to go find the Wizard of Oz, defeat the witch, and find her way back to Kansas with some very interesting sidekicks. Wicked obviously takes that story and kind of twists it on its head, and it's more of an origin story for the villain and how she's been misunderstood and it isn't all as it seems. It's a musical as well. It's about Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, but during her like younger years at college and like the friends she makes and her relationship with Glinda or Galinda, as she's called in that.
I'm gonna say, are you gonna keep on the Glinda or Galinda?
Do you know what I think? It to me, I always think Galinda. I don't think Glinda.
I feel like we're going to have a lot of off topics about Wicked because I know we're both very excited about how it's just come out. But one of my favourite subtle jokes in the film is when she pronounces her name Glinda and somebody calls us, what's her name? She says, it's Glinda. The G is silent.
Yeah, I liked that. um, but yeah, that's essentially both stories. One's the Wizard of Oz. Everyone knows the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Dorothy's trip to Oz, trying to get back, fighting the witch. Wicked is the witch's origin story and how she's been misunderstood. I'm going to let you go first and tell me which story you prefer.
And I think like with Wicked Part 1 specifically, it is very much, it feels like like even watching it as the first film of two, it feels like a prequel. Like it's almost as if I wanted to watch part two first and then kind of go back to see how it happened. But it's just my Star Wars mind that like counts four, five, six, one, two, three. But um, yeah, I mean, I like it. It feels very young adult, and you don't really get into like the nitty gritty of it until the very like kind of end of it, where she finds out the secret behind the wizard and everything like that. Whereas the original Wizard of Oz is, I think, is a very simple, straightforward story. But I mean, it's a classic, and I hate to do this right off the bat because I'm very excited about the film since it's released. But I'm going to go 10-9 for the Wizard of Oz, mainly because as as full as the Wicked story is, it's only half the story. So whereas even though Wizard of Oz is a brief story and everything happens very fast paced, it's an older film and it's how they were produced. It is like it's very succinct, very fun, very like very playful. Even the darker bits are a little bit like playful as well. And it just kind of like beat. You don't really get any chance to get bored. Where there was probably, even though I do think, yeah, Letterbox 5 star, there was probably some bits that were drawn out in Wicked that probably could have been condensed a little bit more. Um, I know we're probably going to butt heads at some point because I didn't really particularly like Fiero as much as you did. I know that. But there's some bits with like him that I think probably could have like squashed down a little bit. I don't think it needed to be 2 hours 40. But I think I would probably, hopefully, part two is as good as part one. And I would probably watch that in the same way I do watch Infinity War, where I watch Infinity War and then Endgame straight away, or It Chapter One and go straight into It Chapter Two, or Doom Part One, Doom Part Two. Like I imagine myself watching them as one huge film rather than two separate ones. Whereas I think Wizard of Oz is just a classic. You can't really beat it.
Yeah, it's a tough one because, like you said, Wicked, it's a spin on the old tale, but the fact it isn't finished does kind of hurt it, like it is in two parts. So it's hard to judge the story. And the Wizard of Oz, while it's like a straightforward, like almost like paint by numbers tale, it's it's so like original
Yeah,
because the actual story was, I think, written in like 1900. Like it's over
mm,
124 years old now.
yeah,
And he's looking at what it's inspired with, like all the sequels and like TV shows and stuff like that. There's even like a movie starring Michael Jackson, for Christ's sake. Um,
that's that's true. And the Muppets.
um, it's, I think it's just the genius of it can't be overstated. And I love the Wicked story, but
Yeah,
I went 10-9 in favor of the Wizard of Oz as well because I think, like, just for that to just come from someone's mind and the way it's altered Hollywood,
yeah.
it's had
And
such a big impact on it.
I think it's a testament as well because at the beginning of Wizard of Oz, there's a title card that talks about how this story is like inspired people and like resonated with people, and this film is a thank you to those people who love the story already. And it's like, well, you literally starting your film off by saying this is for the people that love this kind of thing, which I've never seen done in a film before. I completely forgot that happened. But then you kind of think, well, would Wicked have happened without Wizard of Oz? I know it's based on a book rather than the film, but there's so much stuff in Wicked that's clearly trying to evoke that sense of the original Wizard of Oz. It's just one of those that there's so many moments in it that are iconic and just call back to. And like you say, it's I mean, you just say it paint by number, and it's like quite straightforward. And but it's originally, it's I mean, in it's the way it does it. But like, I mean, 1939, it probably wasn't as original back then. Like the whole black and white to color thing, which now seems very like okay, it's just a effects, but back then, obviously, it was a massive, massive deal. So
Yeah, and I love how the way it's set and the way the not Dorothy's story goes, and it's like there's like intervals where a different character joins the group, and I think that helps the pace of the movie as well. Because like at first she obviously meets the Scarecrow, and then it's not longer than the Tin Man's there, and then the Lion. It's like I think those additions really help move it along quite swiftly, and it
yeah,
never feels like it's dragging. Whereas I do understand what you mean about Wicked. There are moments where it's like, all right, we could have shaved a little bit here.
yeah. But I think like I mean, this is coming from. I mean, I'm talking about two great films, considering I don't really like musicals, but the story in The Wizard of Oz you get dialogue and then you get songs. Like the songs are jaunty songs to help it along, but you still get like the dialogue to move it along between all of those songs. Whereas in Wicked, you've got the what I've always hated is where the story is incorporated into the song, and you have to really pay attention to know the story kind of thing. I know it sounds really stupid because that's exactly what musicals are. But like instead of talking to each other, they're singing to each other kind of thing, and that's how the and for I just want to kind of give it credit for me because usually I hate that kind of thing, and I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair enough. It was. I really liked it too. Um, let's move on then to the best opening. This one's tough for me right off the bat.
Was you looking at me to describe them? You
No,
don't mind?
no, I can describe. Obviously, the Wizard of Oz opening is just like Dorothy's life on
Yeah.
this little farm in Kansas. It's like I wouldn't say it's black and white. What color is that?
See, I don't know if the sepia tone color is a newer thing or if it always was. I always thought it was black and white, but I don't know if that's like a Nelson Mandela effect where it's I always thought it was black and white, but it was always sepia. But yeah, it's sepia. It's oldie worldy.
Yeah, well, there's obviously so it looks old, and it's obviously Dorothy on this farm and like her life, and like she deals with all these different like her relatives, like her aunt and uncle, and all the local people. She goes to see this like fortune teller, Mr. Marvel, I think he's called.
Yeah.
And then the tornado happens quite quickly and takes her to Oz, and we see as she emerges from the house, this sepia tone just completely evaporate in favor of like this whole technicolor like masterpiece, and like just that scene walking through, and obviously they painted the back of someone that color, so it was like a body double, so they didn't have to transition, and that's how she walked out. Um, it's I mean, I imagine it was groundbreaking at the time. And then you compare that to the Wicked opening, which is actually like told in the future. It's like it
It's the,
opens,
it's the end of Wizard of Oz.
yeah, and it opens after. Well, I imagine it opens right at the end of the Wicked story. Like Wicked 2 is probably that's probably where that's ending as well.
Yeah.
And we get the people of Oz celebrating the death of the Wicked Witch after Dorothy's just handed her ass to her. Um, and we get Glinda arriving to tell the Munchkins about the Wicked Witch's demise, and there's a really cool song in it about the witch being dead and the people celebrating that. And then they ask her to explain how she knows the witch, and then it's like Glinda's. It's like she's like the storyteller from that point on, and she tells the origin story herself, and then we flash back to the open to Elphaba's like birth and childhood and stuff. I went. This one's really tough for me, actually. Really, really tough. But I went 10-9 in favor of Wicked. And this was hard because I actually think that the moment in The Wizard of Oz where the doors open and it changes to color is one of
Yeah.
the greatest moments in cinema history.
Yeah, I also think like you completely skipped over. I mean, you was like, oh, this really great song with No One Mourns the Wicked, but you also forget we get the Amazing Over the Rainbow, which is probably one of the most iconic songs from that
Oh
era of music
fuck yeah,
as well, don't you?
yeah! I might be rethinking it. No, fuck it. 10-9 in favor of The Wizard of Oz. I can't believe I forgot Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I've changed my answer. You've fucking done that. Yeah, 10-9 in favor of The Wizard of Oz because, like I said, that moment when it transitions to color is one of the greatest moments in cinema history. And Somewhere Over the Rainbow is a song that has transcended the film. Like people nowadays know that song without even knowing where it's come from. It's that iconic. And Judy Garland was sensational.
Be honest with me for just a second. When you hear Over the Rainbow, what's the first thing you think of?
What do you mean?
Do you think of Wizard of Oz? Because
Yeah, you think of what?
I
Scrubs?
think of episode of Scrubs with Ted singing Over the Rainbow.
No, no, I don't. I do think of Wizard of Oz. That's good though. There's obviously the episode that Zach Braff directs where he's got to follow the yellow brick home, and
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
but no, I think that song is just iconic. And I think Judy Garland's like one of the most talented actresses of the 20th century. And I think with The Wizard of Oz, Meet Me in St. Louis, and A Star Is Born Alone, she was just incredible. And I think that performance is so good. And I do love the Wicked opening. I love that it starts with Glinda at the end, and we see everyone like celebrating the death of the Wicked Witch. And No One Mourns the Wicked is a great song. But I just can't believe I forgot Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I can't believe that I just didn't mention that. And that changed my answer. So thank you for bringing it up.
That's all right. It's look, I think it's the first time I've ever made you change your mind about anything. But anyway, I'm going 10-9 in favour of Wicked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, I do really love the opening to Wizard of Oz, and obviously Somewhere Over the Rainbow, like you said, is fucking iconic, and the going into the colour is, it is one of the most. It's if you ever have one of those retrospective of film short videos or adverts, you've always got that scene in it, haven't you? And it's always between the black and white movies and the colour movies. They always kind of use that scene to kind of transition it, and it is iconic, and I can't like deny it that. But I really, really love the opening to Wicked, like that introduction to Glinda, and you kind of see her character. But even before, like with the song starting, the little glimpse of you know Dorothy, Tin Man, Scarecrow, Lion, like walking over the Yellow Brick Road, just getting like a different introduction is all very new but familiar. Um, and I know it's really stupid. I love the fact that they made the Universal Studios picture like logo like as if it was from the 30s as well. Really love that. But I think the song is so like it puts you in a very different perspective on um, the Wizard of Oz story because you kind of almost immediately tricked into thinking, oh, this is a sequel. And then you slowly like, oh no, we're going back. And I would take the opening all the way back to, when she's born and everything like that. And you get all the glimpses of like the animals. And I just thought, well, at first I said this to Grace. I was like, why is there a fucking bear here? And why are they talking? Why are all these? And then I remembered there's like a lion that can talk and dance and sing and all that kind of stuff in the other film. So like, yeah, fucking go over it. But then, yeah, an introduction to, I think Glinda's introduction in this was spot on because you immediately have her as the traditional good witch, and you see that, and then you start seeing that like facade break when she puts the bubble back up and somebody tries to talk to her, and she's like she can't hear it. She gets a little bit frustrated and has to pop it again, but she has to get back into that position, and it really perfectly. And I've got a very strong thought on what I think of this portrayal of Glinda, but I think it really just sets up a really interesting point of view on the story, and it's
Yeah.
very catchy. The opening to Wizard of Oz is the slowest, and I think it's the part that drags the most. And as soon as you get into the color, it's just poppy, poppy, poppy all the time. No pun intended with all the poppies, obviously in the films. But I think it is the part that drags the most, and she is the whiniest in that part of the film as well.
Yeah, I don't blame them though. It looked miserable living there. Fuck that place. No colour.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But I think that's why I like the open. I think it's the way it drags. It kind of feels earned when she steps into the colour. But
Yeah,
I
I
can't
guess so, yeah. I agree with
I can't argue about the Wicked opening though. It is great, and I do love. I mean, obviously the music, the stage show starts the same, but I love that it opens at the end and then it goes back to show you how we got there. I think that's a great touch.
I mean,
Um,
I also said in the car, I didn't it didn't click into my mind until after the first couple of lyrics of Good News She's Dead. The clip from when the Queen died popped back into my head, and there's a guy. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
I don't think so.
So when the Queen died, there's a video. There was a video online of the night the Queen died, and there was a stage show production of Wicked, and the director or producer or whatever came on stage and was like, "It's obviously sad. We've lost Her Majesty the Queen. Out of respect for her, we're going to continue to play as normal, as written, as scripted." But of course, me not knowing the play, or I read that, I always watched that and was like, oh, that's nice. That's a nice thing to do. And then the first lyrics of the entire play is "Good News, She's Dead." So I was already at that point. I was sat in I was sat in my chair, absolutely chuckling to myself. Nobody knowing why I'm chuckling to myself. I just immediately remembered that clip, and I was like, that's why they had to make a statement.
Yeah, that's really funny. I never knew that.
It did better for me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I never knew that. That is really funny. That's really, really funny. Um, so we've touched on the story and the opening. Let's get to the conclusion, the best ending. The Wizard of Oz ending is quite straightforward in a sense that she beats the witch kind of by like,
Accident.
yeah, it's a happy accident. The Wicked Witch tries to set fire to the Scarecrow. When Dorothy throws water to put him out, it lands on the witch and melts her. It's not even that much that lands on her, the fucking wimp. Um, but yeah, the water melts her, and then she returns to the wizard to let him know the news and see if he'll take her home. We find out the wizard isn't actually all powerful; he's just essentially a con man. Um,
Yeah. If I've learned anything from James Franco, is that the wizard was a con man.
yeah, you love James Franco, though, don't you?
No, I thought it was your favorite actor. Him and Kevin Spacey in a film was your, like, you said that was like your that'd be like your modern day Heat.
Modern day, yeah. Who's Kevin Spacey playing? Fucking Al Pacino. Christ. So that's like the worst shit. Even before the allegations, that sounds like the worst shit ever. Um, and then we find out the Wizard of Oz is a bit of a fraud, but he promises to take Dorothy back in his like hot air balloon. I don't even know like how he'd do that. Like, would you just put your faith in this old man? Like, does he know where he's going? Does he know directions? How does he get back? But she agrees, and then Toto gets out of the balloon, and she kind of gets screwed over in that sense because the wizard can't get back down. The ropes let go. He floats away, and then Glinda shows up with and says all she has to do is fucking click the heels on her red slippers
Yeah,
and say there's no place like home. She could have told her that ages ago.
literally comes. She literally appears next to him. And, love, you could have done it all the time.
Yeah, I just didn't tell you. She's
No
like
bad, no
she's
bad
like
way.
she's like Dumbledore in Harry Potter. She's just using her as a pawn to fucking kill the witch. She could have helped
Well,
her.
yeah, I guess. Yeah, well, technically, yeah.
But yeah, then we get Dorothy doing the iconic "There's no place like home," and she wakes up back in Kansas in her bed with surrounded by these people that she's grown up knowing, who now look an awful lot like the characters from the Land of Oz: the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, the Lion, the Wizard, the Wicked Witch. They're all there.
Oh, you mean the traveling mystic that just leans through the this little
Yeah,
girl's bed window and asks if she's okay?
yeah, it's a bit creepy. Um, and then the Wicked ending is kind of similar in the sense that we find out the wizard isn't what all he's cracked up to be. Elphaba arrives at the Emerald City, finds out the wizard is essentially evil and he's hating these animals, and that's where that because the long plot in the middle of the movie is about these animals that are going missing, and one of the teachers at Elphaba's College, Dr. Dillerman, is one of those. He's a goat played by the wonderful Peter Dinklage. Um, and he's captured and taken away, and now we find out it's the wizard that's behind it all. And then she obviously defies him and escapes, and that her and Glinda are chased by these like fucking
God,
awful, terrifying monkey with wings and guards. Both of them. All the monkey thing is terrifying, but yeah, the guards as well. And then the chase eventually leads them to this like tower where we see the two perform defying gravity, and Elphaba finally transforms into the witch, enchants a broom, and flies away. And I'm going to let you talk about which one you prefer first. I think we'll both have the same answer here because I'd be very surprised if we don't.
yeah. I mean, I'm man enough to admit I may have shed a tear during Defying Gravity.
Jay, you know me. I was in bits.
Um, my stomach were proper wobbling trying to hold it all in, but did I shed a tear? Yes, I fucking did. I mean, it is a great performance. I mean, you've got that whole build up of Elfa and Glinda, you know, at odds and then becoming friends, and then all of a sudden become really close friends. And then it's the moment when I mean, big spoilers, but why are you watching this if not? But it's the I mean, spoilers, but whatever. It's the moment when Glinda realizes that she's not going to go with her, and Elphaba realizes that no, you're not coming with me, are you? And it's like two very separate. And I know that's part of the song, and it's part of the whole dynamic, and I know that's going to play into the second part. But it's two very different reasons for why they're not doing it, um, and why they're going to carry on their own way. And Glinda wants to do it from the inside, Elf wants to do it from the outside, and it's such a heartbreaking little moment, especially for the absolute wonderful, beautiful princess of Glinda, who all the way up until this point has been very what's the right word to use for eerie and a bit airheadedy. whereas the Wizard of Oz ending is like, oh, you want a brain? Well, you've always had a brain, and you want a heart? Well, here's a watch, and give some, the line of mental. It's like it's clearly all con man stuff, and he kind of gets away with it. Though it is interesting watching it after I've watched Return to Oz and Oz the Great and Powerful and Wicked, all in kind of great succession. Where you kind of when the witch dies, it you kind of get that a new. I was watching it with like a new perspective. You can kind of see, oh no, it looks like she's faking it. That looks staged and looks like she's faking it. When the wizard escapes, like goes on the balloon and Dorothy's gone, and he's like, "Oh, I can't stop it! I can't stop it!" It looks staged, like he's trying to get away, kind of thing, rather than trying to actually help anybody. So it was a nice way to watch it with a new perspective as an adult, but it's just not as good. And going back, and I don't like the whole, and I get it because they didn't want MGM didn't think people would buy into the full fantasy aspect of it, so they had to kind of be like, was it a dream? But I hate the whole it was a dream and you were there and you were there and you were there thing. But Defying Gravity, what a fucking belter of a song. I think we should. I think. Do you think we get copyright striked if we did it now?
Probably. Definitely on YouTube and all. Um, I agree. I went 10-9 in favor of the Wicked's conclusion because I think the actual I know the musical ended on Defying Gravity and that's where the intermission is.
Yeah,
Uh, but to do it in the film, I wasn't sure that's how they'd end it. But to end it on such a powerful note and like her performance is actually mesmerizing. Like Cynthia Erivo in that song especially, like throughout the entire movie, I think she's great, which we'll talk about soon. But that one specific song, I think it's mind blowing, and the way she performs that, and the bit in the end when like it flashes to other characters, like the ones back at the university, like Fiero and stuff, where they all start to realize things are going wrong. I had goosebumps through it. I think it was incredible that performance at the end. Like you said, the two women kind of realizing they're having to go their separate ways now, and the way you can see like it tearing them apart, while also they know they don't have any other choice. I just think it was so fucking good, like really, really, really good. The Wizard of Oz ending is obviously the whole "There's no place like home" is a line that's been used probably about a billion times since in different mediums. Obviously, other TV shows and movies have ripped that line off so many times, but the whole "you could have done it the entire time" is a bit. I'd be
yeah,
fuming. I'm like,
yeah.
Wendy, you fucking bitch.
But then, kind of, I think it kind of plays into the whole thing that everybody's, and I think maybe it's something that Wicked's going to do, and it's something I kind of noticed watching Wicked that everybody in Oz is kind of, all like the leadership figures in Oz are all kind of fake, kind
Mm.
of thing. Because I mean, it was quite heartbreaking to see, Glinda put her arm around, like, be hugged by Madame Mulberry, Mulberry,
Yeah, I know what you mean. I can't
Michelle
remember. Yeah,
Yeoh.
Michelle Rose, who was obviously
Phenomenal.
great. Yeah.
But and then have like you see it's that close up of Glinda's hand, like hugging her back, like like I don't know the second part off by heart, or I don't even know the great details of it, but it's that fear of she's going to get manipulated into becoming like a tool of Oz as well, and then you kind of then rewatching Wizard of Oz, it's like, oh no, she does kind of a little bit become a tool of Oz and becomes a part of that conspiracy and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that adds to the heartbreak of it as well. Well, one thing that did make me laugh at the end of the Wicked, just before the to be continued, she flies off, and then it's like she breaks the sound barrier. It's like Top Gun. She breaks the sound barrier. It goes like, and she flies off. I'm like, well, okay, she'd be fucking dead. But I did. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of Cynthia's performance throughout. I wasn't really sold on her, but I can't deny that performance was an absolute belter, and I think I've been holding space for her on that one. I don't really understand that meme, but I'm down with the
No,
kids.
I don't understand it either. I've seen that online. I ain't got a fucking clue what this even means. But I've seen loads of people saying that. I honestly
But
actually don't know what it means.
no, but no, really, really good. And from what I've seen on social media and stuff, like they've incorporated stuff from the stage show. Like, I mean, you'll have seen it, so you'll be able to attest to it. But like when she raises up and flies for the first time, like the cape kind of fills the entire stage, but in this it fills the entire screen, which I didn't think about at the time. I just thought that's a really cool visual kind of thing. And then seeing it afterwards, I was like, oh no, that's really nice actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really, really love that ending.
Yeah, I thought the ending was probably one of the best bits. Um, I think it's important to nail an ending.
It's not the best bit. Well, you've seen my Instagram say I had a religious experience during that film. I know you had a different religious experience during that
I think
film.
it did.
Let's not pretend the Define Gravity was the best bit, but
I
it was
said one of.
okay. Fair enough.
I just think when it's a two-parter, you've really got to nail the ending of the
Yeah,
first half, and they did just that. I think they left a lot of people wanting more. Like it was the perfect cliffhanger.
yeah. I definitely not knowing the whole story. Definitely was like, well, I want to know what fucking part two is now. I don't want to have to wait. And
Yeah.
why do I? Why do I have to wait now? But
Well,
yeah,
yeah, a whole
looking
new.
forward.
Well, that's that then. So
Oh, did I actually say a score? Yeah, 10-9.
yeah, you went first.
Yeah, 10-9.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we both went 10-9 in favour of Wicked there. So we'll move on to the cast now, which we've spoke about quite a bit already. Um, the Wizard of Oz has obviously got the iconic Judy Garland, who is probably the only really like well known name from the Wizard of Oz. Like I think if you ask them like casual people, a lot would be familiar with the name Judy Garland, but not many people are going to know like Frank Morgan or Ray. I think it's Bolger or Bolger. I can't really remember. I don't know. Like Margaret Hamilton, Billy Burke, Jack Haley. Like these aren't names that we are all too familiar with, but I think in terms of their performances, they all like did a really good job. And then Wicked, we've got quite a star-studded cast. They've obviously got quite a few really well-known names in there. Cynthia Erivo isn't a name I was too familiar with before. Then you've got Ariana Grande, you've got Jonathan Bailey of Bridgerton fame, which again I'd never watched, so I wasn't too familiar with him. You've got Peter Dinklage from like the likes of Game of Thrones and Elf. You've got Michelle Yeoh. You've got Jeff Goldblum. You've got the young fellow that plays SpongeBob in SpongeBob the Musical. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He plays Bok.
Yeah. I
Uh,
don't know.
what's his name? I forgot. His name is something. Ethan
Well,
Slater. His name is
as long
Ethan Slater.
as long as it's something.
And you've even got in a role that I didn't like. I expected more from as Kiala Settle, who plays one of the teachers that welcomes us to the school, who is obviously known for The Greatest Showman. And when she showed up, I thought she was going to sing, and then never had a singing role, which is a very bizarre decision.
Yeah.
But that cast is obviously a bit more like famous.
But I think only by modern day standards. I think there's only two. I would say there's only two movie stars in there because
Yeah,
I don't think Peter Dinklage is as big as he could be.
I think
That's
if
not.
you'd have seen his
That's
face as
not.
well.
Hold on that before I get picked up on it by anybody. That wasn't a dig. I meant like in terms of popularity. I meant like in terms of popularity.
I didn't even
But,
think of that.
but like, and Ariana Grande is a big name, but she's not a big film name.
No.
Got Jeff Goldblum and Michelle Yeoh. Obviously, Jeff Goldblum's an absolute legend, and Michelle Yeoh's an Oscar. Is she Oscar winner? Did she win
Yeah.
it? Oscar winner? Yeah. But outside of that, you've not like they're not like huge names in film. And I mean, Jonathan Bailey is popular,
Yeah.
pun, fully, pun fully intended. But he's only popular because of Bridgerton, which isn't. It's not like I mean, it's a big show, but it's not like huge. So in terms of like massive star power, they are big stars, but I don't think they are like what Barbie was last year, kind of thing.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Um, I still went 10-9 in favour of Wicked though, because I think the Wizard of Oz cast did a really good job. I think Margaret Hamilton as the Wicked Witch was is so iconic that people like it's still one that's like remembered fondly to this day. Like that's the iteration of the Wicked Witch that a lot of people think of.
Well,
And
that's when people think of a witch, they think of
yeah,
yeah,
she
yeah.
that's she did become like the trademark. Um, I think Frank Morgan as the wizard was really well done. I think all of like the supporting cast, like the three sidekicks that Dorothy has, um, I'm unfamiliar with which ones play which. I'm gonna have to look it up. Obviously, Bert. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. It's spelled Lahr. I don't know if that's liar, whatever.
Yeah.
But his performance as the Cowardly Lion fucking killed me. I thought it was actually fantastic.
And I would literally just sat belly laughing.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do a really good I'm not gonna be able to do a good impression, am I? But
When
when
he first
you
shows up and he's talking about fighting him, he says, "I'll do it with one arm behind my back and stuff."
put him up, like that kind of thing. Brilliant.
Yeah, he was fantastic. I think Ray Bolger as the Scarecrow was incredible and all. I thought he was awesome.
Really
Um,
good, really good, like animated bit, like animating his face
yeah,
to emote. A
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah, he was. And I mean, they all were. Billy Burt was good as Glinda. She did a solid job. Like she seemed to be like really wholesome and holier than thou. And obviously, that's the character gets stripped back in Wicked. But there were just a few performances in Wicked that I think just really like take it to another level. I know you said you weren't sold, but I really liked Cynthia Erivo as
Oh
Elphaba. I
no,
wasn't too sure beforehand.
yeah, I didn't
But
hate her. I just wasn't super sold. I didn't think she was the best part of the film, and
oh,
I'll wait till I get to speak. But
yeah, no, I actually 100% agree with her. She wasn't the best part of the film. The best
yeah,
part of the film,
yes,
and again, right, this is someone I wasn't convinced should be in the movie. I didn't like the decision to cast this character, this person in this role. I thought it was like a cop out. I thought it was cheap just getting a recognizable name and someone that likes the character, but I didn't think they was really well suited to it. And I
yeah.
can't tell you how much I've been proven wrong by Peter Dinklage as the goat. No, Ariana Grande actually was the best thing about the movie.
Yeah,
I
100%.
actually was like, I can't believe how good she was. Like, I honestly believe she deserves to be in like best supporting actress at the Oscars like conversation for her performance in Wicked. She might not be because it's a musical about the Wizard
Hmm.
of Oz. I don't know if they'd reward people for that, but I actually think Ariana Grande was incredible. I think
Um,
Jonathan Bailey was superb.
yeah. Can I just? I don't know. Go.
I'm gonna let you have your 20 minutes.
You keep talking. You keep. I'll get to my moment.
Yeah. I think Jonathan Bailey was great as Fiero. I think Ethan Slater was fine enough as Bok. It's not a character that has too much depth. I think he was good. He was fine in the role. I think even though he only had a couple of scenes, I actually think Jeff Goldblum might be one of my favorite bits about the movie as well. Like I'm not
Yeah.
usually like a bit. I mean, I'm not. I don't dislike Jeff Goldblum, but I'm not one of these people that like think he's the greatest thing in the world. Like I think he's fine in movies. I thought he was good in The Fly. But you like I can take him or leave him most time. But I actually think he was exceptional in this movie.
He has a what's the there's like a charming creepiness to him about him.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
When he puts his head between the curtains and he's smiling, it's like you're unsettling,
Yeah.
man. I
But I also think there's like a gravitas to Jeff Goldblum where they big up the wizard throughout the entire movie. And then when you see him and it's Jeff Goldblum, like you can see why.
yeah,
See why. And it feels like he's worthy of the role. And then obviously as we peel it back and we see the wizard for who he really is, I think he does great with that. Michelle
yeah.
Yeoh's obviously great. She always is in everything she does. Peter Dinklage was great as Dr. Dillerman.
So you don't think though he's not the best in the film.
No,
So you would say he's not the goat.
no, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. No, he's not. He's not the goat. Um, I tell you who I thought was all right. She didn't give much to do, but I still think um, Elphaba's sister, played by Marissa Board, who
Hmm.
Nessa Rose. I think she was really good, and I think it's great that they finally, despite Wicked being a stage show for like over 20 years, they finally cast an actual wheelchair user in the role. It's the
Yeah.
first time they've ever had someone who's in a wheelchair play the role, which I think it feels weird that it's taken this long, but I think she was great as well for what she had. And she has a bigger role in part two, but I think she was great.
Well, I know in part two you probably can't use a wheelchair user, but I'm very interested to see how that is going to translate and if they're going
I
to
think
do
just
more.
recast her.
Yeah.
Terrible, wasn't it?
Um,
But yeah, Ariana Grande, I think, was perfect. I think she managed to capture the ditziness of Glinda so well because that's kind of like been her persona through her like career. In Victorious, which I only watched a couple of episodes of, like which was her first real acting breakthrough on Nickelodeon. Her character was like the ditzy airhead, and she's kind of channeled that again. But then as the movie went on, she really also brought out these like this nuance that I don't think I personally, I don't know about anyone else, but I really didn't expect Ariana Grande to have the ability to perform, and she just actually knocked it out of the park. So it was an easy 10 down this. As much as I love Judy Garland, you can go now.
okay. Not that fussed about Jonathan Bailey. He was all right. I think he could. You could probably replace him with any like good-looking white male actor that's popular right now. I'm not. I know that's hurtful to say to you because I know when you had your religious experience, it's probably because of him.
Made up
Um,
it was. No shame
yeah,
whatsoever.
Cynthia, was it Aviro?
Arrivo.
Arivo, I got close. Is was really really good. I don't think I don't. I think I wanted. I think I kind of. This is going to sound really terrible, but because of how bigging up everything she's been doing in interviews and how she's acting in interviews, I kind of expected a bigger performance, and I quite like that she played it a lot quieter. But I wasn't as impressed with her as I was with someone else. Michelle Yeoh, brilliant. Jeff Goldblum, fully agree. He uses his screen time, his little screen time that he has, and literally just chews up all the scenery constantly. Like he never stops chewing. Um, oh my god, Ariana Grande. I've gone from not even caring who she is to I think I'm in love. She's absolutely perfect in the role. There wasn't a moment she could just be standing there in the background doing something, and I would find it so funny because it was just like it's those moments where people might not even be looking at her, and she's still in character. This ditzy, like look at me, kind of pick me, kind of popular girl again, pun fully intended. And the only thing I've been thinking about her portrayal of Glinda, and I don't know if it's the stage show. Obviously, you've got the benefit of that over me. But she is to me the equivalent of Ryan Gosling's performance of Ken last year. It is essentially the same kind of portrayal. It's the same kind of character, and I think she did it so perfectly. That popular ditzy, like a little bit stupid, but actually really clever. I mean, Ken doesn't have that second part, but you know, knows what she wants, kind of thing. And it's really, it's like just all the stupid little things she does, like the hair flipping and stuff like that. And it's just, and I've talked about the when she crawls across the floor during the popular song. That was like seeing Jesus. I swear to. And then there's a bit where she swings on the lampshade and like she's kicking her legs out. Oh my days, I was sweating. I had to lean forward in my chair, and it was
While sat next to your pregnant wife.
yeah, and it was absolutely brilliant. And then all the way up to like the end, with subtle moments of just in the facial expressions of like her realizing she's not going to go with. I think it's predictable, probably predictable for Elphaba to realize that she probably wouldn't have gone with it. I think it's more powerful for Glinda to realize that she's not going to go with it after everything that's happened. But I think it's such a massive bombastic performance filled with so much subtlety, and it was amazing. That said, I'm going to go 10-10 because I can't decide. Because for me, I liked all of the cast of Wicked, but it really was her film for me. Um, Whereas in The Wizard of Oz, every single character has a moment to shine. The Scarecrow is so elastic and fun to watch. The Lion is one of the fucking funniest things I've seen in ages. Um, Following Glinda, obviously. The Tin Man, like really, really just overtly camp for no reason. The wizard just really sells that con man aspect to it, but also like I'm a nice guy, but actually I'm kind of screwing you over. Glinda again, the Wicked Witch being absolutely iconic and being the blueprint for witches going forward from 1939 onwards, and obviously Judy Garland being the sweet innocent little Dorothy, even if she was coked up and abused during filming. It doesn't come across on film, and I think they're all just kind of perfect in what they are. Whereas in Wicked, I think you've got one really, really big standout character, for me, in my opinion, surrounded by a good cast. So yeah, I went 10-10 because I can't. Wizard of Oz is so iconic with all the characters. Whenever you think of Scarecrow, I think of that Scarecrow, or Tin Man, that Tin Man, Lion. I think of that line, that portrayal. Um, Whereas I could, with Elphaba, the Wicked Witch, I would still think of the original Wicked Witch and not the Wicked Witch, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, that might be different though when you see her acting that role because she's not being the witch properly.
Yeah, maybe. I think
It's
after
not
maybe
like it's not like the same character right now.
no, maybe after part two, I might think differently. But I think she's obviously there's a lot of parts in Wicked where she's imitating or hinting towards um Margaret Hamilton's character, like with her how she moves her hand and her laugh and stuff like that. So I think even with that, you've got the blueprint of the original being that iconic that you can't really escape it. So you've got to lean into it. So maybe it'll change, but I just think the original cast of Wizard of Oz is so iconically perfect that you can't just throw them out just because a few more popular people modern day have replaced them.
Yeah, that's fair. I do think it was hard voting against him because Judy Garland, I think, was incredible.
Mm.
I think she was exceptional. Do you know what's weird though? And I thought this when I watched Return to Oz. They made the because Judy Garland was like 17, 18 when she did it, and then in Return to Oz, it was like a 10-year-old. Why did they do that? To say
Because
they were saying it was a sequel as well.
because it's Return to Oz is Disney, and they were doing a sequel to Wizard of Oz, but from the books because they didn't have the rights. The only rights they had were to the Red Slippers, which they had to pay MGM for. And then so they were doing a sequel to the books, and in the books, Dorothy is supposed to be 8.
Fucking hell, really?
Yeah, and apparently, according to the internet, Dorothy is supposed to be like 13, 14 in Wizard of Oz. She don't look it.
No, she's like 18.
Yeah.
But I understand what you mean. I didn't think of it that way, like all the characters, like the most iconic versions of them, like the Scarecrow and stuff, because that's a good point. Um,
I think even if, the first thing I thought of after coming out of that is A, I want to see part two, and B, I wonder if they do like a modern day Wizard of Oz with this cast and a different kind of set of songs just to kind of tie it all. I know you've got one perspective of the Wizard of Oz, but would you do the original perspective as well?
yeah,
But even if they was to do that, a modern day Wizard of Oz in this kind of big grand musical kind of thing way, if I was to think about the Scarecrow, the Lion, and the Tin Man, I would always think of those three.
yeah, yeah. That's especially the case for the Lion. That guy's just the fucking he's the Don. Um,
It's the bit where he goes, "Somebody just grabbed my tail," and it's him holding his own tail. He scared himself by grabbing his own tail.
yeah, he's really funny. It's just when she like hits him and he's like, "Oh, why would you do that?" He's just brilliant. I also like the Wizard. I think Frank Morgan was great, and I think it's really sad because when the Wizard of Oz came out, it wasn't very successful. It didn't. I don't think it
Hmm.
was received well, and it didn't make much money. And then obviously they brought it on. I think they did reruns on television in the 50s, and that's when it really took off, and everyone realized how good it was, and it became this well huge sensation. But the guy that played the Wizard, Frank Morgan, had already passed away at that point. So that man passed away not knowing the legacy that he would have in Hollywood. Like that's quite a shame to think because that film is remembered now 85 years later.
Can we just say one thing about the cast? FYI,
Which
in the Wizard of Oz cast, and I did it on our Instagram post today. Is like a little Easter egg to the film. It says like introducing like Judy Garland, and it says all these other actor names, and then it goes and the Munchkins, and then even in the credits at the end, it's like got all these actors' names, and then and the Munchkins. It's like okay, so the Munchkins are just a cast of little fucking weird, creepy little
yeah,
children.
little fucking predatory men apparently with the stories that
Yeah,
were told about fucking poor Judy Garland getting terrorized by him.
or
Uh,
apparently one knifed another one because they were like dancing in front of him or something. I don't know.
Fucking crazy. Little man syndrome to the extreme.
Creepy little ones, the lollipop guild ones, where they kind of like do that with the mouth, like gangsters, but like whilst creepy.
Yeah, they were weird. But we'll move on then to the last category that we are both aware of, as we like to have five
Yeah,
ahead of time, and then we've got our surprise ones. Have you not got a surprise one yet?
no, it was my idea to do this. Of course, I've got one. Just give me a
Oh,
sec.
you shite. Terrible. For the first time, I think ever, I'm the more prepared one here.
Yeah, well, yeah, probably.
So the last category that we've got is the music. Obviously, we've got two musicals here with some pretty incredible songs in both. Just running through some of them, you've obviously got Somewhere Over the Rainbow, We're Off to See the Wizard.
Yeah.
Um, you've got, I don't think it's called We're Off to See the Wizard. I think it's called Wonderful Wizard of Oz, but I'm not entirely sure. You've got Defying Gravity, you've got Dancing Through Life, you've got Popular.
But yours is listing ones from Wizard of Oz, and I'm like, is did I just blank out? Is Define Gravity in the original Wizard of Oz as well?
No, no, I'm jumping through both. Um, you've got No One Mourns the Wicked, The Wizard and I, One Short Day. Like, there's some incredible like songs across both. So
Yellow Brick
this is a
Road.
tough one.
Didn't say Yellow Brick Road. That's a classic.
Yeah, but that's kind of a part of the Wizard of Oz one, isn't it?
I think it
They
kind of
play
all
into each other.
together because you've got the Munchkin Land that mixes in with Ding Dong the Witch is Dead, that mixes in
Yeah.
with Follow the Yellow Brick Road, which mixes in with it's like the soundtrack to it is lots of tiny little songs that keep jumping about. Like you've got the Scarecrow song that goes back into Off to See the Wizard, that goes into the Tin Man, that goes into Off to See the Wizard. So there's tiny little songs that are all just kind of joined together. But yeah,
But yeah,
you,
the Ding Dong the Witch is Dead song is obviously iconic as well. People still
yeah,
say that to this day about all sorts of random stuff.
and Margaret Thatcher.
Well, yeah,
Even
that
though
was a
she's been
big one.
a long while.
I do it every time Eleanor like if we're like play fighting something and Eleanor like pretends to be it, I sing that.
I
But
wonder
yeah,
where you. I wonder where you're going to go there. Like every time Eleanor passes out or something, you say
every
"Ding
time I
dong."
choke her unconscious. um,
You have weird sex
but
game.
yeah, so they both got some pretty incredible songs. So how did you score this? Because you're not a musical guy, but yeah, I think even you can admit there's some very good songs here.
I think you've got some absolute belters in Wicked, and I think you've got some absolute classics in um, Wizard of Oz. And I'm going to cop out again because I don't think I can decide between either of them. Because on one hand, you've got absolutely historical classics like Somewhere Over the Rainbow, Follow the Yellow Brick Road, Ding Dong the Witch is Dead, Off to See the Wizard, all that kind of stuff. Like If I Only Had a Brain, the Scarecrow song. But again, it's all like tiny songs that into like match with each other, like they weave in and out of each other. So it's almost like there's a good portion of the film from when she gets to Munchkinland to kind of meeting the lion. When she meets the lion, they kind of go off where about 10 different songs mix and match into each other. Um, and I think that's pretty artful in itself. And then in Wicked, I mean, No One Mourns a Wicked being a fantastic opening to a film. Um, that What's This Feeling? I quite enjoyed that one. The Loathing, that's good. One Short Day I really liked. And it was really weird because I don't know the musical. I've got no emotional attachment to the musical. I got really emotional when those two shown up, Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth, when they showed up. Even I got emotional. I was like, why? I don't care about them. For me, it was hearing Elsa sing on stage, to be honest. But and that was a really good song. Obviously, Defying Gravity, and that's the one song that I knew before going into this film. But my religious experience was Popular, from the acting bits around, like the dialogue before it started. So I've listened to that song more times in the last 24 hours than I care to admit. I could probably recite it lifeline, including like inflections and how she speaks and stuff like that. And I've seen like the memes of when when Elphaba says Popular and then Glinda does the right kind of thing. Like I've seen all that and I absolutely love it. And it's I think that to me is the best song on the soundtrack, as well as the best acted bit. Has he got something to do with Ariana Grande dancing around in quite a see-through 90? Maybe, but it
The
matters.
fucking horniest episode ever.
Look, right, some of us have seen the Lord. So not only does he like a musical, but he believes in Jesus now, and he saw it on that big screen. He
That's
saw
it.
God on the big screen. But yeah, I think I can't, in good conscience, say that those songs are better than the originals. Like technically, like in terms of musical quality, maybe, but they're just such classics, and I don't think I would feel right about saying that this new thing that I'm currently obsessed with is better than a classic that everybody knows the lyrics to. Everybody, if you put it on, everybody knows what it is. So yeah,
So that's 10-10.
Well, I can't help but be a wimp.
So you've 10-10 again.
Well, don't make me
That's
make
fine
an
because
effort.
I've 10-10.
Yeah.
I'm the exact same. I think the historical significance of songs like Somewhere Over the Rainbow and The Wizard of Oz song and Ding Dong the Witch is Dead, like those are songs 85 years later and people still know those songs. And a lot of people know, especially like Somewhere Over the Rainbow, people aren't even aware where that's from. It's just a song that's like hit the zeitgeist and
Yeah.
it's not easy to do that. But it's so iconic. And I love the Wicked soundtrack. I mean, after we watched it 6 years ago, I've been listening to the Spotify, like the original broadcast, Broadway's recording of it. So I've been listening to those songs with Adina Menzel and Christian Chenoweth for years now. But as soon as I watched that movie, I haven't listened to anything but the movie version now. Because I think they do such a great job.
Yeah, which is interesting because we was listening to the soundtrack on the way back from York yesterday, and when it got to Define Gravity, we listened to it, and I was like, I actually want to like. I'm curious now what the original sounds like. So I'd never heard the original until after I'd heard this one, and it's probably I do prefer the original, but I really like how this one is done.
Yeah, I think it's hard not to enjoy Adina Menzel. Like she was incredible. I think Cynthia Erivo had a big like shoes to fill, but I think she does a really good job.
Yeah, she's held that
Ariana,
space.
you are,
She's held that space.
yeah, yeah. Ariana Grande in Popular was like earth shattering,
Yeah,
looked superb. Um, I think I'm not that girl. I really like the one that's Elphaba sings when she realizes she's in love with Fiero.
I think that's the one song that I was like, no, I'm not feeling this one.
No, I think that one for me was the Wizard song.
Hmm.
I mean, Jeff Goldblum, can he really sing? I wasn't too fussed about that. I'll be honest with you. But for the most part, I feel like the Loathing song is fantastic. I think it's really funny. Um, Defying Gravity is obviously what a way to end it.
Yeah,
The Wizard and I think, is a really good song.
yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Uh, One Short Day, superb. And I had a feeling they were going to make an appearance, but still seeing them two in it was like really like wholesome, and I enjoyed that. But I think Dancing Through Life changed my life.
That's your religion.
Um,
Do you want to talk about your religious experience?
Yeah, because I mean that was my favorite song anyway from when I watched it the first time, and then when I listened to the soundtrack, that's one I like because everyone has a little moment to shine in that song. Like there's even bits for like Bach and Nessa. Uh, Glinda's obviously got a few like quite a big moment. Elphaba's got little bits, and then Fiero kind of just like guides everyone through it. And I think that introduction for Jonathan Bailey, I think he was incredible in that. I
Mm,
don't think Fiero's that necessary of a character in the actual story as a whole.
yeah.
This is supposed to be about these two girls who like form this sisterhood, but then in the middle of it, there's a guy that they both like kind of love, and like Elphaba kind of like screws her over for her partner. You don't need
Yeah.
that, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I think probably the sign of it. I think that the Wicked books that they're based on, I think are more young adult like Twilighty, aren't they, than the
Oh,
state. Yeah, so I think that's probably where that part kind of comes from. But yeah, I don't think he was kind of necessary as a love interest to get between them.
no,
Um,
but I do think he justified his existence with Dancing Through Life. I thought that was superb.
I actually preferred his real introduction when they meet in the forest
Yeah, that's
because
great.
you know who
Both.
he proper gave me Flynn Rider vibes from Tangled.
Yeah, yeah, he does. I think he did look like that with the horse and everything. Um,
Yeah. Oh yeah. What does he say to the horse that well there's a first I've been turned down by a woman or something like that.
Yeah. So he
First time
obviously,
I've ever been
but
turned
also I think what's good about it, obviously Jonathan Bailey's an openly gay actor, and
down.
I don't think it exists in every Fiero, but his is very much. There's defo some bisexuality there because even in Dance for Your Life when he's dancing, there's kind of moments where he's dancing such that with men as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think they're kind of hinting that his character isn't like heterosexual. He's a
When
bit
he goes, I noticed that they goes past the lineup and he's just like in the face of everybody's there, and it's like loads of girls like blowing him kissing and stuff, but like lots of guys as well.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean,
I think that works well for him as a character. Like I think he does come across quite flamboyant, and I just think that song's great.
I think they get like a good looking actor though. Do you know what I mean? Somebody like who looks a bit more like me or you, just
Like,
to
yeah, get us in there. That'd be sensational. I couldn't imagine us trying to do the dancing though. Fucking Christ,
No,
that'd be
I probably.
awful.
I mean, I put my back out, putting a poster in a frame. So
Yeah, and I almost tore a hamstring playing Wii bowling, Wii Sports. I did like a lunge for it, and I felt like something popped, and I was walking funny for days. It wasn't great.
you're walking on that turning library, you just oh,
Yeah, I
that.
would make it. But yeah, I love that song. I love the moment in that song when Elphaba arrives at the dance and everyone's
Yeah,
mocking her, and Glinda finally realizes like how she's treated us wrong, and she feels really guilty. And when she approaches her, and you can see like the almost like the fear in Elphaba's eyes, like they're going to mock her even more. She's going to do something really hurtful. But then for Glinda to like dance with her, and then they like that embrace, and they finally become friends. I think that was awesome.
I think
That was the first bit I teared up.
that's yeah the same. That's the part of the song that I actually really like, and it's when I don't know, there was already a flash towards it when they kind of asked Glinda if they knew the Wicked Witch, and it gives you the flash of the fingertips touching. And again, I didn't know what was going to happen, so when it finally happened, I was like, "This is where they became friends." And but there's that moment like as well in. I mean, I know I've made it sound like I didn't like a performance, but that there's the moment in like Cynthia's eyes where she is kind of saying like I know that I'm being ridiculed because of you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But she gives her a chance to be good, the good person she is, and then it kind of shines through. The bit with we've not mentioned his name from SNL, the comedy character, something Bowen.
Oh, Glinda's friend.
Yeah, what was his
Uh,
name? Something Bowen.
I'll look it up for you. I have to
But
do
like,
half of my shit half the time.
there's
Bowen
that
Yang.
Bowen Yang, that's it. And there's like that moment where he's like, you destroy yourself, and then everybody kind of follows her anyway, and it just shows that impact that she has. But I mean, he was great in the cast as well. He was. I mean, I think he's really funny on SNL skits, but he was great in the cast as well. But yeah, I think that moment like really stood out, and it was the first moment I was kind of like, oh no.
Yeah, that was like this one of the standout moments for me. But that was a great song. But yeah, I mean we've kind of got off the fact that we were talking about the songs here. Um,
No, let me just go back because that's the bit where Michelle Yeoh comes in and like gives her like the wand and explains why she's going to train her, and I think that's when I could start feeling my chest getting a bit tighter. And then when they finally confront each other, I was like, yeah, fuck.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
didn't like the song. I just like that moment. So fuck that
The
song.
moment when like Fiero says, "Oh, she doesn't give a damn what anyone thinks about her," and then Glenda's like, "She does. She just pretends not to." I think that was really good. I think it was
Yeah,
great, and it was really well done. For the dancing, that scene where they start doing the dancing without music could have been really corny in the wrong hands, but I think it was really well handled. And yeah, I cried, but obviously I did. But
on the
both
flip
great
side, you've
soundtracks.
got
So you
like,
went 10-10.
in terms of dancing and like performances. I think obviously rewatching it very, very, very recently, is in the past 2 hours. The choreography for the original Wizard of Oz, it is shown less like a film, and it is filmed and shown like a stage play. And I'm guessing like a lot of films were like that, like Singing in the Rain, a lot of Fred Astaire kind of stuff. But um, there's some really, really like good moments. Like, you get like the Tin Man leaning and stuff like that, and how Scarecrow dances, but like it's all like really clumsy and it's all rubbery, and it's like because he hasn't got full control because he's made of straw, obviously, and like there's a weight to the line and all that kind of stuff, and then all the skipping they do down the Yellow Brick Road, it's just so. For, to not sound too sorry, it's just so joyous and poppy. Like you can't help but feel good when you're watching it, and I
Yeah.
think there's a lot to be said about Wicked with how it does all like modern like stuff with modern day, but for that to still be as engrossing as fun to watch, because it's really fun to watch. Like I think it's a massive testament to that film.
I think it's an incredible achievement. Like, how many films from the 1930s do you think are still fun to watch in this year?
No, I think it might be the oldest film on my letterbox now. Actually,
Have you ever watched Snow White?
not on letterbox.
Because I think that was maybe 2 years earlier or something like that. But for a film, because obviously films back then, the pacing and stuff was aged very poorly, and they can feel like quite a drag. And I'm speaking as a guy that has watched a lot of films from like the 30s and 40s over the last couple of years. Um, but like I was saying this earlier, that film feels like it could have come out, especially the stuff in Oz with the technical. It feels like it could have come out in like the 60s, 70s. It doesn't look 85 years old.
No, no, it looks really, really good. In fact, I was thinking it while I was watching it. A lot of like the camera quality and the effects of like the miniatures and stuff look better than some of the like 60s, 70s Godzilla movies that I
Yeah,
watched.
it's crazy, really.
Yeah.
Um, right, well, that's the end of our five main categories. Now we've got the two surprise ones. I'll go first because it kind of links into the little conversation we just had then.
Okay.
My extra category was like, which set design did you prefer? The Wizard of Oz was obviously a lot of it was on like the studio backlot, and it was all there was like you could see the backdrops, you could see like the scenes where like Dorothy would come out, and it was like the hills were painted behind her. It was so clear that she'd just come from around a corner and it wasn't really there. But it was all like handcrafted. Whereas the Wicked, kind of had a bit of practical and digital. Like they built a lot of the sets from hand, but there was obviously also some digital work to it. So, which did you prefer?
What in terms of just production in general?
Yeah, like the set designs and all the production value and stuff. Which do you prefer, like that old school golden age of Hollywood vibes from the Wizard of Oz, or do you like this new modern blend?
I think both work perfectly for what they both are.
Mm.
I don't think you can do, obviously not, but you can't do the original Wizard of Oz with Wicked. It wouldn't be as popular as it is, but again, fully intended. And you can't, I think if you was to, like, if you was to give me exactly what I want, which is a modern day musical retelling of The Wizard of Oz with these kind of cast of characters and this kind of music, I think you would 100% lose all of the charm of the original. You'd have to accept it as something new and not what it is. And the original got so much charm. I'm gonna have to go with Wizard of Oz because although I really did like the set design and stuff, it looked. I think Emerald City is probably my favorite set of all of it for sure. The rest of it kind of looks like it could come out of Harry Potter or it could come out of something else. I do appreciate. I didn't realize that it wasn't CGI. I saw the fields in I think Norfolk, the actual poppy fields that look like a rainbow at the beginning when the kids are running down and saying she's dead, the witch is dead. They were real, so I appreciate the effort that's gone into that. But I think you've got a lot of CGI, you've got a lot of like making things look bigger through CGI and all that kind of stuff. Where the I always love practicality over anything, even if it looks fake. And I think it's just so spectacularly built. Everything looks colourful, even like the dark forest. Everything looks colourful. I mean, the snow when they're in the poppy field, that was asbestos, so probably not the best. Probably not the best set design. But I think in terms of how it's actually made, I think the actual models and force perspectives with munchkins and the costumes and all that kind of stuff. I think it's much wackier, it's much weirder, it's much more original, um, and much more tactile. And like the fact that it's all physically, I know a lot of the Wicked set was there, but the fact that it's all physically there, whilst being that bright and colourful, is I think is a massive testament. Again, made in 1939, and there's some stuff in there that's like it's quite obvious to watch it now, but when the witch appears and it's a big plume of smoke, there's clearly a trapdoor there because she runs around to where the trapdoor is, and then the smoke blows, and you can see a little bit of a square. You want to be able to see that when it first come out, obviously, but I think it's all just really, really cleverly done. And I like the painted backdrops and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm going to go with the original Wizard of Oz on
Yeah, that's how I went with it as well. I'm a big practical effects guy. I love seeing the work that's gone into it. I love seeing like handcrafted like special effects and like the set designs. Like that's why I love like the thing so much, is because you can see like all of this has taken like so much time and effort, but it's been worth it. And I think the Wizard of Oz has that, like the backdrops and the fact it's so clearly on a studio lot at times, like I think that adds to the charm, and I think I prefer like that version of like the Scarecrow and stuff where they're in these costumes and it's like clearly just men in costumes. I think that's what the Return to Oz kind of loses when we see like the Tin Man and it's this fucking robot looking thing. I was like, that's really weird. Like I didn't like that at all.
Not the Tin Man.
Wasn't a fan.
He wasn't the Tin Man.
No, towards the end there was though, right?
No, yeah, yeah. There was a Tin Man at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the one that kind of looked like a weird Cyberman from Doctor Who or something.
yeah, but you can't deny that the design of Jack the Pumpkinhead,
Yeah, he
Jack
was
Pumpkin,
great. He was great.
fantastic.
Yeah, I liked him. But yeah, like you said about the like the witch having to go down like the trapdoor with the smoke, or when even like the tornado when it's so clear like a miniature house like being like going on. I just love that these little like they were almost like puzzles that they had to solve at the time to get these sort of things onto the screen. And I don't think obviously people don't have to work as hard anymore, but I do appreciate what Wicked did with its sets and like Emerald City looks great. The CGI for the most part was fine as well. Like I think the animals looked decent. Dr. Dillerman looked fine. I think the monkeys looked great.
Yeah,
But
terrifying.
I just think there's a certain charm about the golden age of Hollywood, and that's saying that Wizard of Oz doesn't even look like it could have come from there. It looks like it could have come from the 70s. Like it's aged so well. And again, the moment when it goes from this like sepia tone and we go into this like incredible Technicolor, and the way they did that by having like a body double with the back of her like her entire back half painted in this like sepia tone, just so she could walk into then. And as soon as she's out of like camera shot, Judy Garland steps in color. Like it's just it must like the genius that went into producing this sort of stuff back then. It's almost like an art form that's been lost. You don't have to brainstorm the way you used to. So I just appreciate it more.
Been trying to think why I've been talking because you pretty much said what I was going to say, but in a different way. I was going to say, which version of Oz do you prefer, like the version in Wicked or the version in Wizard of Oz? Not like in a practicality way, but like in a story way. Because like obviously you got the Wizard of Oz, you've got stuff like the talking trees and stuff like that, and you've got how it's presented. But like I meant more in like a story way. And like Wicked, you've got like it's more expanded. So you've got like a train and you've got like a university, and they all talk in a different kind of phantasmagorical language. And there's like all these just kind of like they'll just add little like things onto the end of words. But it's too close of a question to what you've asked. So if you could, I'm just going to go on for a very general question because I can't think of one that's Wizard of Oz related right now. But if you could watch one of them for the first time again, like wipe all memory out. If you got the choice to watch one of them, not knowing what you're about to watch again for the first time, which one would you pick?
That's interesting because I think I'd go the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
I think I'd go 10-9 in favor of the Wizard of Oz because I'd seen the stage show for Wicked, so I kind of knew what to expect. But I imagine going back and watching Wizard of Oz for the first time, not knowing what was going to happen, seeing that scene when it transitions to color, all the catchy songs. Because, like, I imagine if it's first time seeing it, it'll be first time I'd hear any of them as well. Seeing my guy, the Lion, show up and just fucking steal the show. Judy Garland being incredible. The reveal of the wizard, which is obviously common knowledge more now, but that reveal where it's actually like he's not all he's cracked up to be. And Margaret Hamilton's iconic performance as the witch, like seeing that for the first time, like I wish I could watch The Wizard of Oz again for the first time. But that's a film that I feel like it's been in my mind for like so much of my life. I feel like
yeah.
even before watching it, I knew it all. So like to be able to watch that like go into that blind and not know anything, that'd be a real fucking treat. I'd love that. So yeah, 10-9 in favor of the Wizard of Oz.
See, I was thinking Wizard of Oz, but I think if I were to watch it now, I would probably watch it and go, "Yeah, that was all right." But because I've grown up with it and watched it young and watched it so many times young and can appreciate it from that, I think it helps build that love for it. Whereas I think if I watched it as an adult for the first time, not knowing anything about it and going in completely blank, I'd probably go, that was fun. I really enjoyed that. It was all right. Whereas I've spoken so many times about how I dislike musicals. and how they do absolutely nothing for me. And how a very specific type of musical where dialogue is replaced by singing and people talk to each other, but it's actually singing to each other. I really fucking despise that. But to go into a kid not knowing the story and coming out of it thinking, actually, if Godzilla X Kong The New Empire hadn't come out this year, or Terrifier 3, two in one sentence, it,
We almost lost it.
it could it could have been my film of the year. And to be honest, I've come out of this with the same feeling I came out of Barbie, except for I actually had a really good sense I was going to like Barbie. I didn't know if I was going to like Wicked at all. I was just excited to see what it was. Um, so I know it's quite fresh, but I would love to have that kind of feeling again because it's very rare I have that now. Because you have so many trailers and stuff, and so many like sneak peeks of stuff you're excited for. I don't think you ever kind of get that feeling. For somebody who I didn't care about the trailers, I didn't care about the behind the scenes stuff, I didn't care about the 10 years of drama it took to make this film. Like, because it was a musical, I never really paid that much attention. But to actually kind of like come out of it thinking, fuck, I need the soundtrack on. Shit, I'm going to buy it on vinyl. Fuck, do I need to get it on 4K Blu-ray so I get the best fucking picture? That kind of thing. Like, I think a testament to how good it actually is that I'm so like, fuck, this is good. Like, it's really good.
Yeah, I agree. I fucking loved it so much.
But I think if I was to watch Wizard of Oz now, I would just like I would enjoy it and appreciate it for what it was. But I don't think it would like I don't think I'd have the same kind of feeling as I do now watching it, where I can have a bit of memory with it and have like a lot of fun with it as much as I do now. I would still enjoy it, I know I would, but I probably wouldn't as much as I do knowing it and growing up with it. Whereas knowing how recent I feel about having seen Wicked literally yesterday, this time yesterday, it was yeah. I think it's just shown how really special it is.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. We're talking about two fucking great films here.
Yeah,
Like they are both incredible. Like it's funny, one's 85 years old and one's about a week old, and I still think that they're both like fucking
it came
great.
out on Friday.
Yeah, it's like 4 days old, and we're comparing it to a film from 85 years ago, and they're both so good. Like
Yeah,
it's incredible, like what they've done there. I know it's not a sequel; it's obviously like more of like a prequel slash spin off, but this has got to be one of the best like further installments in a franchise. I don't actually know what you call it. A spin off,
I think it's kind of
reimagining.
it's an adaptation of a source material. I think what I think is really interesting, and I said this to Grace yesterday, is that it's it's not even the same studio that did Wizard of Oz. MGM did Wizard of Oz, and this is Universal, and they've got so much. Like it's interesting because you want to be your own thing and kind of go, this is our adaptation of Oz and the story of Oz. But there's so much that's like, hey, remember this from like there's so many visual music, dialogue cues to the MGM version because they fully understand that that's the version that everybody knows. Maybe if you was to do it based on the books, there's the biggest difference that I think will confuse people is the silver slippers and not the ruby slippers because they were always silver. It was MGM that made them ruby, so you could see Judy Garland's feet when she was dancing. Um, but it's so interesting that they managed to make it their own thing whilst constantly going, yeah, it could tie into the original film if you wanted it to, because it all looks very similar. Even when they walk down, other than the lion being on all fours, even when you see them walking down the road, they look pretty exactly the same as they do in the Wizard of Oz. So I think it's just really, really interesting that
Yeah, I
that's
thought
how
that when I
they
saw them.
do it. Yeah. So yeah, it's a great expansion of something from 1939 that nothing else has kind of touched on, I don't think. And I think for a again, not being a big musical fan, but for a musical to be doing as well as this is doing is, I didn't say one thing about this popular song. I'm going to go back, rewind. I'm going to go back to popular just for 1 second.
We're
My
going back to
religious
soundtrack.
back to soundtrack. You know, I said Ariana Grande to me is as Glinda is like Ryan Gosling as Ken,
Hmm,
I genuinely think that carries over to Popular. I think Popular to this film is what I'm Just Ken is to Barbie.
that's fair
Just
enough.
in there, just so I got it on tape. So that when everybody's celebrating the Academy Award winning for Popular, I'm going to be sat here going, I fucking told you.
I'm going to be honest. I think there's zero chance that Popular wins the Academy Award over Defying Gravity.
100%. Defying Gravity is going to win. But
Yeah, but they're both great. They're both great movies. I'm so glad Wicked.
yeah, what won?
Yeah, I haven't even said that yet. I like to ask you, what do you think's won?
I think it's going to be either a
It's
good
gonna either be
tie.
Wicked or Wizard of Oz,
Oh, yeah, when you put it that way.
or a
I
tie.
think I think it could be a close. I think it could be a tie, to be honest, because there's a lot of message saying what did I say something like a fuck. I thought the OG was gonna like wouldn't
Got a
have any
chance or
competition or
something.
something. Yeah, well, yeah. I don't think the OG's got a chance. But actually, going through again category, there's lots of the OG shining through.
Yeah, it is very, very, very close.
But do we have a winner? It's not a tie.
Winning by 1 point, 135 to 134 is the Wizard of Oz.
Do you know what? I'm actually surprised because of how excited we've both been and pretty much only talked about Wicked this entire episode. I'm
Yeah.
surprised it's well, that's good. I mean,
Well, I
it's
think, like we said, Wicked's been great, and I'm so glad it was so much better than I expected. I didn't have high hopes. We've been burnt a lot recently with like adaptations to stage musicals. Like I never watched it, but I've heard truly awful things about Cats, so I shan't be doing that. Dear Evan Hansen wasn't great, so I didn't have high expectations for Wicked. I just thought it was going to be disappointing, and it's actually like really fucking blown me away. But The Wizard of Oz is an all-time classic. I don't think it's just one of the best musicals. I think it's one of the best movies, period, of all time.
one of them. It's one. I think it's one of them where it's always going to get brought up in conversation. Isn't it? Like that, It's a Wonderful Life, Citizen Kane, all from that kind of era.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're remembered well for a reason. I suppose they've held up, especially Wizard of Oz. Like the technical achievement is just fucking earth shattering. I can't. Even now, it blows my mind.
Mm.
So yeah, it was close, but the OG
1 point.
comes out
That
on
is
top by 1 point.
got to be one of the closest we've ever had.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we've had ties in the past. I can't remember what for, but I think we've had at least one tie. I can't remember what it was for now.
Can't remember either. And I bet you don't keep a tally anyway. And I'm not going through what episode.
Do I shy keep a tally anyway?
I don't,
Writing on these little bits of paper and then I never see them again. I don't even throw them away; they just kind of evaporate. But yeah, so we have a winner. The OG, the Wizard of Oz, comes out on top, barely scraping past Wicked. But what a pair of films they were. This might be not number one, but up there with two of the best, like most quality, like high quality films we've ever compared against each other. I think. I don't think it's number one because we did Back to the Future versus Ghostbusters, and Back to the Future on its own is better.
we also did Barbenheimer last year.
Yeah, we did. We did do Barbenheimer.
Was that was our second episode, wasn't it? Me and you together.
Yeah, I think so because I think it was just before it came out.
We did Ghostbusters and that shitty little time travel film that you like, and then we did
One that
Barbenheimer.
won.
Well, it did win, yeah, admittedly.
Yeah, then we did Barbenheimer. But yeah, this has got to be one of like the strongest ever pairings I think we've done. It's up there at the very least. Like, um, but yeah,
Agreed.
so that brings another showdown to an end. Then Wizard of Oz wins. Um, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I had fun with that one. I'm glad we got
Yeah,
to talk about Wicked a lot. Originally, we weren't even going to do it, but we liked it that much. We felt like we had to.
I'm glad we did. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm part of my rush to watch it was like, fuck, if we watched it tonight, we could do Wizard of Oz and Wicked for the podcast. It'd be so much better than Oz the Great and Powerful and Return to Oz.
yeah. This episode would have been very different.
Yeah, it would have
Also,
been
it was just like pure coincidence that I watched The Wizard of Oz this week.
Mm.
Like before you even suggested, I'd already watched it this week. I watched it just before I went to watch Wicked. Um,
I watched it in the 2.5 hours spare between work and filming this.
yeah, so we got them watched. But yeah, thanks for checking that out, guys. If you want to follow us on Instagram, feel free. It's probably the only social media site we use now.
Yeah, we should probably get rid of Facebook. Who uses Facebook anymore other than
No, exactly. But
anti-boy?
Instagram, we occasionally still post. I actually I put a post up about Ariana Grande today.
It's literally been all wicked today.
Fucking right, deserves it. But yeah, so that's the CineMatch podcast on Instagram. If you're watching or listening to this on, I mean, if you are watching or listening, I mean, you are if you hear this, fucking hell.
If you watch it, but with no sound and subtitles only,
Then well done for reading that because I can imagine my accent, even subtitles don't quite figure it out. But if you watch on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video. And if you are on one of the podcast services instead, then please feel free to subscribe on there and leave us a nice review.
like,
We hope you enjoyed this. Christmas is coming.
I'm
It's
going to say
December next week. I hope you're
next
ready.
your month.
Yeah, I'm fucking ready. I've already watched like 35 Christmas films.
Have you watched that Hot Frosty yet?
No,
Are you gonna?
yeah. I watched the Merry Gentleman one. Have you seen that advertised on there with Chad Michael Murray? It's like Magic Mike, but at Christmas.
No.
It was utterly dreadful.
We did make a passing comment that you were going to pick out two of your favorite Hallmark movies and we're going to do them. And I fucking don't think I can. I already regret it, but I'm sure it'll happen.
Yeah, maybe I'll do two of the shitty Netflix ones because people will actually know them.
Yeah, maybe. And
Yeah,
I can.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, we've got Christmas coming up. We've already discussed a few Christmas ideas, so we hope you guys tune in for them. It's about to be a great month. My time to shine. I love this time of year. Um, and do we have an episode lined up next week? Do you know what we're doing? Can't remember.
Some at Christmas, I assume.
Yeah, I imagine it is. I know we said we had some ideas, and I just said we had some ideas, and I already can't remember them. So
Well, this is what happens every week.
yeah, it is.
We'll just have to talk about it off camera again.
Yeah, that's true. Right. So thanks for tuning in, one and all, and we shall see you next week.
See
Peace,
you
man.
later.